this episode, we're going to talk about all the work we're going to be doing under the hood here. And to start off with the engine, we're going to be using Dupli-Color's engine enamel in blue to match the outside body color. Now underneath the engine, we're going to start talking about the exhaust and what we want to do there. And for that, we're going to use VHT's Flame Proof for that high heat resistance when we recoat that.
Now, to get this engine out, we've drained all the fluid and then we disconnected the hoses and the wires. One thing to note is that we marked each one of these so that when we go to put it back in, we can do it very easily. Also, while we have this engine out, we're going to take the time to do a couple different projects on the engine there and to restore it and restyle it. Now, John, let's go ahead and get this engine pulled.
Sounds good.
With the engine out, we're ready to paint the engine block. But before we do that, we're going to remove some of these hoses and accessories here and give it a thorough cleaning with Dupli-Color's grease and wax remover.
That's right, Mark. And once we get everything cleaned up, we're going to hit it with the Dupli-Color engine enamel. We're going to go with blue to tie into the color scheme on the outside of the car. And this is going to give us high heat protection up to 500 degrees for the engine here. First thing we're going to do is clean as much of this loose rust off the engine as possible. So we've got this all cleaned up using our grease and wax remover as best we can, and we're going to start off by hitting it with the engine enamel primer to seal it up real good. Then we're going to come back and hit it with that blue. Dupli-Color's engine enamel primer. That's going to give us a nice base to go ahead and put our engine enamel color over top of. We're going to let that dry for about 1 hour before we come over with our top coat. Now that our engine enamel primer is dry, we're going to hit it with Dupli-Color's blue engine enamel. Now we're going to do this in 2 light coats followed by 1 medium coat with about 10 minutes in between. We've got our manifold off the engine. Mark's working here to get this cleaned up. There's a lot of rust on here. So once we get it cleaned up, we're going to hit it with the VHT Flame Proof. We're going to do some primer and then come back over top of that with the black. Now VHT is good for very high heat applications. That's going to be great for this manifold.
It's really important to make sure you take the time to get all the rust off of this so that when you do paint it, it doesn't come back, and it also gives it a nice even finish.
So we've let our primer dry for about a half hour now. We're going to come back with the VHT Flame Proof black coat over top of that. Now our Dupli-Color engine enamels will go up to 550 degrees, but this will get a little bit hotter than that. That's why we're using the Flame Proof here. We're going to go ahead and apply 2 light coats and then 1 medium coat with about 10 minutes in between. So we've got our black Flame Proof down. Now we've got it dry to the touch here. You want to make sure to follow the instructions on the label to fully cure this. For more information on Flame Proof and any other VHT product, check out vhtpaint.com. Now for our valve cover, we have a bit of a special project here. Kristen really likes this piece because of the international logo on it. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the Dupli-Color white engine enamel and we're going to paint this piece. And since these letters are raised up, once that cures, we're going to come back and sand it off of these letters. What we're going to end up with is a nice polished metal look on these letters with the white background. And then we're going to come back and clear coat it with the Dupli-Color engine enamel clear coat. We're going to end up with a really cool piece that she's really going to like. Now since we want to customize this by sanding these letters down, we want to make sure this paint is good and dry. So we're going to let it sit about 24 hours before we start customizing and sanding these letters. The engine enamel clear coat goes on just like the other enamels. You're going to do 2 light coats followed by a medium coat with about 10 minutes in between. We waited about 24 hours for everything to cure. Then we started bolting everything back together. Now we're going to go ahead and drop it back in the car. got our engine back in here, and it's looking really good. If you remember, it was looking pretty rough when we started this out. We did the engine block in the engine enamel blue, and we also did the accent here on the valve cover, and that International is really going to pop out, and Kristen's going to love that. Now on our engine block with the engine enamel, we're going to get heat resistance up to 550 degrees. And also, we did the VHT flame proof on the manifold to really have that high heat protection there as well. For more information on Dupli-Color's engine enamels and all of our other products, check out our website. And be sure to stay tuned to future episodes as we continue to work on this 1969 International Scout. And remember, yes you can in your garage with Dupli-Color.